Welcome back to the CMB Sports Show, uh,
Season 2.
Season 2, Episode 2, 2 weeks in a row. That's a streak, ain't it?
I believe it's a streak.
What is it, two in a row? He says in
Or maybe
Major
it's
League.
3.
I can't remember if it's two or three. That's what I was
Either
debating in my
way,
head.
2 in a row is heating up.
Yep, we're getting there. That is heating up. We're fixing to get balls back. We coming off a pretty good weekend for both of us, really. Think y'all established dominance. Are the Jalen Milroe haters? Are they gone?
They should be. If
Have
they're
we
still
bought in?
hanging around, get out. I mean, he is and he's always been a great athlete. I think he lacked the confidence early on. I mean, it's like anything you do. Starting out, after not doing it in a while, like starting quarterback, I feel like that's got to be tough to just pick up, especially in a new system. So I'm so glad that he's found his confidence. He's a lot of fun to watch, and I mean, really, just this team is really fun to watch. They kind of have that, Bama factor, I guess. I think honestly, I think it's all thanks to Kevin Steele. So I think he's got a little dog back in the defense. It's not so analytical. It's just get downhill and don't let them get past that 10-yard marker. I feel like that's what it all boils down to. So I don't know, man. I think I like where we're at. Week 10, definitely didn't think we'd be in the spot watching during week 3. So, you know, thanks, Nick.
Yeah, that's I know you keep beating the Kevin Steele drum, which is good compared to like I feel like in years prior all I've heard is how bad your coordinators have been and like how important that is to win. So to see you have a guy that you can trust in is a good thing, but I still think it all falls back to week 3, Saban benching Milroe and basically like proving a point. I don't know if it was to prove a point to the fans or to the rest of the players because you think you lose to Texas week 2 and it's in the locker room there might be some rumblings of like why did we go get that guy from Notre Dame if he's not going to play or
Mm-hmm.
we've got Ty Simpson why isn't he starting and then Saban's like all right hey look we're facing USF I'll run both of those guys out there and see if we just win that game and then y'all
Yeah.
realize Milroe is the guy, and you better buy in and get behind him. And I feel like everything has changed since then. He just keeps getting better and better. Like you said, he's a freak athlete. He's like a weird like combo of a guy that is super athletic and also like throws the deep ball well. Kind of
Yeah.
like I'd say he throws the deep ball better than Nick Marshall, and Marshall was a little more athletic. But the combo of like you can't just stack the box on him
Yeah.
because he can burn you deep. He's not going to pick you apart underneath, but he can burn you deep and he can burn you with his legs. And that's tough to defend.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, I think Nick Marshall's kind of a good comparison. Really, I mean, Nick Marshall was obviously a better athlete. Um, he was, transitioning from a DB. So,
Yeah.
so like, I mean, just that just speaks to what kind of athlete he was. But, he definitely had a cannon, but I think Milroe is a little bit better in the passing game. Like to those medium to long passes for sure. But I mean, he's definitely like in the LSU game, he really turned it on a couple times when he put his foot in the ground and went straight upfield, and it was like, oh my gosh, where has that been? Like this dude is a freaking blazer. He trucked a guy, which is always cool to see a quarterback do. Um, I don't know, man. I think sitting him in week 3 or 4 or whatever. I mean, that was huge. Like I think that was a tone setter for the rest of the season. Like somebody was talking. I mean, somebody was talking about you lose that game, early in the season, week 2, I think, and you have this whole season where you're looking down this, looking uphill, and I mean, you can't mess up. You have to be perfect for the rest of the season. And I think coming out and sitting your starting quarterback, saying, "Hey, like, you know, we better get it together and buy in." or this is what it's going to look like. We're going to be, we're going to struggle against teams like USF. Like, let's get it. And I think that was what set the tone for the rest of the year. And it worked. I mean, that's why people, if you ever wonder why Nick Saban gets paid the amount of money he does, that's why, because of stuff like that. Like, he's the best coach of all time, um, for a reason. Like, it's not just he won a bunch of championships because he had good players and good coordinators. Like, he's a great coach.
Yeah, that's it's uh weirdly this might be like one of his best coaching performances that he's had since like early on, just because he had for 4 years he had his quarterback set in stone, and it was, all those guys are in the NFL now. And this is
Yeah.
the first time we're like, Milrow's probably not going to be in the NFL unless, something drastically changes over the next 2 years before he gets drafted. But
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
you really don't even have that. I don't think he has much NFL talent around him offensively. Um, I don't know. None of the tight ends are going. Um, the wide receivers, there might be a couple late rounders or drafted as free agents that may maybe go be a dog somewhere and get a starting spot, but there ain't a ton. There ain't no Devontae Smiths or Jerry Judy's, Julio Jones. There's nothing like that out there. I mean, Jermaine Burton is very far from them. I mean, he's talented, but I mean, you can't even put them in the same sentence.
Yeah, he's what you're used to having as like your third option on offense.
Right.
You've got
Um,
Devontae and Waddle, and then you've got a guy like Burton behind them.
yeah, exactly. So I think, and I think our defense is really good too. Looking back, wherever we end up at the end of the season, we'll look back and think like, man, that was a really good defense. So I don't know, man. But what about y'all's win? Y'all just go up to Arkansas. I mean, that kind of seems like business as usual. Going up to Fayetteville, huh? I mean, just blowout all the time.
Yeah, me and Devin had talked about it at work because Devin was like kind of nervous about it. I was like, if we lose that game, I can't say what I said on there, but I would do bodily like self harm on myself.
Yeah,
And he was like, Arkansas is not bad. I was like, dude, they've won like 2 games. Like that team is not good. If you can stop KJ from pretending like he's a great value Cam Newton, then you can beat them. Like their defense isn't very good. Their coach is just extremely fat, and those are
yeah,
teams that you just have to beat into the ground. And we did it, which I was shocked. I'm shocked of how bad it was. Like Peyton Thorne actually looked competent on the road,
yeah.
which is shocking.
That is shocking because that's like probably his biggest weakness. I think at home he looks fine, but he actually looked pretty solid in that game. But I think that's a common trend for whatever reason for Auburn teams in the past. I think they go up to Arkansas and handle business quite often. Um, I'm trying to find the previous games. It's not. I'm struggling pulling it up, but I think they've scored 30 plus every time for like the past 5 times there. Something crazy. Um, and Arkansas's had some decent teams over the past 10 years. So um, maybe it's just like y'all are their kryptonite. I don't know, but um, I don't. I mean, y'all are kind of getting hot. As an Alabama fan, it definitely makes me nervous going into the Iron Bowl at Jordan Hare. Um, I've watched y'all a couple times. The defense, nothing to mess around with. Um, having a quarterback that can run as well. Uh, Definitely something to watch out for. So I don't know, man. I think it'll be a pretty exciting Iron Bowl for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it always is. And like you said, we look semi competent, and y'all have seen that, or y'all have shown that y'all are beatable. So I think that makes it, worth the watch at least. Hopefully it'll be a close game. It's at Auburn, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we're winning that game then.
Yeah, they just announced it was the 2:30 game, so could be interesting.
We we're getting to a weird spot, with the last year of the 14 playoffs. We have a chance for it to be the wildest one, to where there's, you know, 3 teams, maybe 5 teams that have a case of making the playoffs. I think there's at least like 7 or 8 teams right now
Yeah,
that could if they win out, should be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And a lot of them play each other, so they all can't technically win out. But I think this is the most like parity we've seen. I think that's a lot to do with the NIL spreading the love out,
Oh
and
yeah, for sure.
now I'm ready for the expansion because right now, and I'm gonna ask you this first because it could come down to your team. Ohio State, Michigan. The winner of that is in. The loser's
Yep.
out.
Yep.
Florida State still, if they slip up and lose, they're out. But if they win out, they're guaranteed a spot. Oregon and Washington State, or Oregon and Washington.
Hmm.
Probably going to be Oregon. But if either way, let's say for this hypothetical, Oregon wins, then you have Texas. So you have one loss Oregon, one loss Texas, one loss Alabama. All three conference champions. What two get in?
So I've heard I don't I've heard people say this talking about Florida State that they should be penalized for their weak schedule even though they're undefeated. I disagree. I think that they should absolutely be in, but you know, I've heard that as a narrative and I mean I get it, but I mean, schedules are made 10 years in advance.
And they played LSU.
Right. So I don't, I'm not with that. I think, they looked super dominant? Not really. Um, but I think if you go undefeated and win your conference, you definitely deserve a spot with a bunch of one-loss teams below you. Um, so what's tricky is with Texas, Alabama. Texas beat Alabama straight up. Absolutely. Um, if I'm making a ranking right now as an Alabama fan, my case for Alabama to get in, if they beat Georgia, I think that's a huge win. That's the best win of the year. They should absolutely be in. But to further that case, Texas has blown um, three 20-point leads in the past 3 weeks. So they haven't really looked dominant either. And Alabama's been pummeling people. Well, they beat LSU pretty good, who's a good team, and then they just went to Kentucky and won. So I mean, that was definitely a trap game scenario. Um, and they're putting it together. If you go down and Jordan Hare and win at night, I think that counts. Um, so that would be my case for Alabama to get in, and over Texas or Oregon. I just think it's tough with Oregon too because I feel like they're the kind of team that is why the eye test matters because they look great. Their best win is Utah, I think, and then it would also be Washington in a rematch.
Which I think
So
matters.
I think that matters. The only
Like
thing
if you
that's
can avenge your
interesting to me,
loss.
and this is like a devil's advocate kind of deal. Last year I think it was TCU lost to Kansas State in the conference championship, and they still made it because they said that the extra game they shouldn't be penalized for the extra game, and it's
Yes.
like, how does that wrap into this? Like does that mean that Georgia still deserves a spot? Would that kick somebody out if Alabama wins, or does Alabama not get to make it in and Georgia still makes it because they dominated all year? So, and what I hate to say it, but I think the committee will pull some bogus at the end of the year. I think we're all going to be very disappointed in who they pick. Um, I just think they'll mess it up somehow with that precedent being set last year.
Yeah, TCU lost in overtime by 3 to Kansas State, who was ranked 14th, and TCU was ranked second at the time. And then that was when TCU they didn't move, and they left them at number 2 even after they had lost. And that's what basically, like you said, why are you punishing a team for losing a conference championship game and rewarding a team that didn't even play in it?
Yeah.
Which
So
I think there's something to that.
yeah, I mean, if that's my team, I definitely want that precedent being set. If my team loses in the conference championship like that.
So the
Uh,
scenario that could happen this year is Michigan wins out or Ohio State wins out. Florida State wins out. Washington wins out. And then Alabama beats Georgia in overtime. So now you've got, does that keep whoever lost the Ohio State Michigan game out? If that was the fifth team, like
yeah,
let's say Texas drops another game before then.
Say they lose in Iowa State this weekend and they're out of it. Um, I mean that's it's Georgia dominated all year. You play a tough Alabama team, um, who would then probably be ranked sixth if Texas loses this week. So it's like I don't know because Michigan would then have because I'm trying to remember. I know that as fans we talk about people's best loss. Does the committee take that into effect or no?
I
Do
would think they
they?
would have to, right?
I'm trying to think. It's so confusing now. So we're
Because like
so because Georgia's loss would be to Alabama and Michigan. We'll say I was Ohio State or Michigan would be each other.
yeah,
Um, See, that's tough. Then it's like, is it Georgia? I mean, if it's Ohio State loses, you'd have to think they would put Ohio State in over Georgia, right? Because they've had them ranked over Georgia all year.
do you remember what the final score was? Take a guess what the final score was the championship game last year.
Wasn't it like
Every time I see it, it shocks me.
59-0?
65-7.
Oh, is
Jesus.
TCU the worst team to ever make the championship?
Probably.
At least in the playoffs, for sure.
Because usually those teams that aren't very good in the playoffs get exposed.
Yeah,
But
but
TCU beat cheating Michigan.
yeah. I mean, that's crazy.
And
Ohio State, Georgia was definitely like the national championship last year.
yeah, because remember Ohio State almost beat them.
Yeah,
Like they missed a field goal right at midnight.
they should have beat them.
It was like a 48-yard field goal or something and missed it. That would have won the game. I got Florida State schedule pulled up too since we were talking about it being soft.
Mhm.
So they out of conference. I'm not going to count their conference against them. Like
That's
there's
what they
nothing really
got.
you can do about it. Like they played at Clemson and won. They played Duke when Duke was ranked fairly high and beat them by 18. They just beat Miami. Out of conference, they played LSU, Southern Miss, who trash,
Mhm.
North Alabama, trash, and then the rival game to close out the year is Florida. You can't punish them for Florida being,
Yeah,
not making a bowl game. That's just a rival game that they play every year.
that's very true. Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
Like, they
Um,
really got three games that they can play with, and they played two cupcakes and you know a top at the beginning of the year. LSU was probably a top 10 team. I don't
yeah,
remember what they were at that time.
yeah. I mean, if LSU or wins that game, they're very much in this discussion.
Right.
You know, so I think just because you beat them, or for the first game of the year, and then their season doesn't go as planned, losing two more, that's not your fault. You know,
I think LSU was favored to win the West, weren't they?
yeah, yeah, they were
I thought so.
because it definitely went Alabama. But I don't know, man. It's going to get interesting. I think that Texas has a tough one this weekend. Iowa State, upset alert, book it. Happened before. Um,
I don't hate it. What's the spread on that?
I don't know. I can pull it up.
I feel like Iowa State's just that team that just wrecks someone's season every year.
Yeah, they did it to Texas a couple years ago, I think. Which I don't know who they would play in the conference championship.
They're 8-point favorites.
But how about? Oh yeah, that's upset zone. How about the Gus bus just taking the mullet to the woodshed, huh?
Did he?
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know what the final score was, but
It
they
was
were
bad.
Oklahoma State was getting beat so bad. The announcers had they said that Oklahoma State didn't know that it was going to rain. That was the excuse. That's how bad they were getting beat.
I
Oh, we
see.
didn't we didn't know it was going to rain. That mullet ain't got Doppler radar in it. I mean, what are we doing?
There was two lines that I sniffed out this week. UCF was one of them, and the other was Missouri, which I didn't take any. I took Missouri, I put a little on it, but that was the only bet I'd made, and I was like, man, I probably could have, like, if I was super confident in it the way I was, been smart about it, could have set myself up good, but
Yeah,
that was bad.
yeah, that was bad.
Both of those games got out of hand quick.
It was yeah, watching Oklahoma State lose was crazy. And because I was thinking like they have to be they're kind of inflated as well. I mean, they lost to South Alabama at home. How good can you be, really? Just because you beat Oklahoma in a rivalry game, they want to throw them in the top 15. Like, bro, get them out of here. And then Tennessee. It's weird. I didn't watch Tennessee much before the Alabama game. In the first half of the Alabama game, they looked electric. Joe Milton looked really good, and then Alabama D kind of put them in shambles. And then I watch him in the Missouri game, and I'm like, what are we do? What? Who is it? Who are these guys? Like they didn't get up for this game. I guess like they came out flat, and I guess Missouri just took it to them.
Missouri is actually pretty good.
Oh yeah,
Like I know it's just kind of always, like it's Missouri, but I mean they let Tennessee have it. They're probably going to wear Florida out this weekend.
absolutely. I think
You got
they just like to play football.
Yeah, the coach though. I mean, Drinkowitz's post game interview was. I paused it and rewinded it, and Kaylee was sitting there. I was like, "You got to watch this. Like this guy is just the dorkiest, goofiest dude
Oh
I've
yeah,
ever seen."
oh yeah,
It's like he's just reading things that like somebody else has told him he should say in in press conferences or
oh yeah.
interviews.
He's a weird guy. He even kind of looks weird.
But you've got Texas is at top of the conference, 6-1. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Iowa State, and Kansas State are all at 5-2 in the conference. So I don't know what the tiebreakers are there. I'm sure. I mean, that'll play itself out, I'm sure, but
Yeah,
I don't really know how you would know who they could possibly play.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't see. I mean, Texas is a good team. I think their conference is a little down this year, but it's not their fault. I think that they have a great shot to win out and make the discussion more interesting. I mean, I still think that as an Alabama fan, I still think we somewhat hold. I would say 85% of our destiny in our own hands. You go beat Georgia, I think you deserve a spot. Um, I just think that that's the best win of the year, from a qualified team. So I think you should definitely jump Texas there if they went out. Um, but it's just tough. You always have that, will they beat you at home lingering over you? But I think that's where the eye test kind of comes in as well. Like that's not the same team. Um,
This
so I
the
don't know.
the best argument that I've heard for it is, it comes down to Alabama and Texas, final two teams fighting for a spot to get in. If they were in the same conference, like if Texas was in the SEC West, who would get to go? And it would be Texas because the first tiebreaker is head to head.
Yeah.
But then again, like you said, the committee just kind of like they could just go eye test and just say Texas has struggled the past couple of weeks. Is their quarterback even going to be healthy? Alabama's getting hot at the right times. But to me, it's if like why play the game
Yeah. No,
if it doesn't matter?
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I just think this is why the eye test matters a little bit. It's not the end all be all, because if that was the case, like, you know, I think, you know, I Oregon would be where they're at, and if they, like the eye test, like you lose to Washington twice, you're not as good as Washington, but you might be like right here. You know what I mean? Like they beat you twice because they're the better team, but Oregon could still like make a case for the eye test because they're just absolutely electric. Trying to think of another team that's all eye test. I mean, Florida State is all eye test, which they're undefeated as well. But you look at their squad, like they got the tallest receiver in the country, and he's an absolute beast. And I think they have like one and a half of them. I think the other guy's like 6'4". So
Yeah,
it's like,
everyone talks about Marvin Harrison. Keon Coleman might be that guy.
yeah. So it's like it's stuff like that why the eye test matters. But it's just tough. You play that head to head week 2. That's why it's just such a scary game. You lose that game, you might be done for the season.
Yeah, if they replay that game
Because there's,
now,
I mean, I think it's very different personally. I mean,
I do too.
we had a shot to win it in the fourth, uh, or we had the lead in the fourth and gave it up. I think that we're a totally different team. But like you said, why play the game? So I think it has to matter some. It's frustrating to say as an Alabama fan, but it's very true.
All right, you want to talk? By the way, I think Georgia is just doing the same thing Georgia does every year. At this point, I think we are rinse, wash, and repeat on Georgia to where they lackadaisically go through the first 10 weeks of the season and everyone says they're beatable. They're not really pummeling people. They're just barely squeaking by. Then all of a sudden it starts clicking and then they just start putting the beat down on people.
Yep.
Because Saturday was to have just a full backups in, like basically the whole. I feel like we were talking about it was like their fourth string running back or something in at one point,
Ridiculous.
and you're playing a top 10 team in the country.
Crazy. I mean, they're good. They're really good. I don't think they're as good as they have been, but they're definitely good. I think they got a little bit more beatable in them than usual, but it's not much.
Yeah, I agree with
They.
that.
I think the past 2 years they were 5% beatable. I think they're maybe 20%. Which is still not a lot. Um,
You think that's the lowest percentage out of everyone in college football right now?
that's beatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Who do you think second?
I think it's probably Ohio State
Okay.
at probably like 35%. I think they would be tough to beat. They play a tough brand, but they also have a guy that's really hard to guard.
Yeah.
So that kind of sets them apart from Michigan. I mean, watching Michigan Penn State was an absolute snooze fest. I don't care how broken the running back's nose was. Uh, that does not impress me. Your Yellow Sox don't impress me. You can't move the ball. Penn State's defense is not that great. I just don't think Michigan's that good, to be honest. I think they go out and lose to any legit team, without a scout, without their mega in-depth scouting report. So that I just don't think they're very good. They didn't prove anything to me. I don't think JJ McCarthy's very good. Um, and I think Ohio State's going to beat them this year.
Michigan State's currently a 5.5 point favorite over Ohio State.
Michigan is
Yep.
or Ohio State.
Michigan's favored.
Okay.
I think it opened at 7. So maybe some people have seen some things you did in the Michigan Penn State game and brought it down
Where's
a
it
little.
at?
It's at Michigan.
Well, I just don't know, man. I don't think. I mean, they already got the signals, so it's like I don't know. I just don't think Michigan's. I don't think they moved the ball well enough. If you can take away the run game somewhat, I think you're fine. I think you can beat them and put. I mean, you always have to put up points as well, but I mean, I don't know. They haven't been tested all year. Like they've just been cruising.
Yeah, they're a weird team to kind of gauge. Another team weird, tough to gauge is my New York Rangers. Uh, and I sent out the bat signal last week saying I was scared, but we just keep winning.
Yeah, I mean, I think y'all are just a good squad, through and through.
I mean, we haven't lost. We lost in overtime in the last 10 games. That's it.
And that's good for the points.
It is. Which we are first in points right now. We kind of talked about this a little right before we started. We're behind. We're first in our division.
Hmm.
The Bruins have one on us in the East, and we're tied with the Canucks, and the Knights have 2 points on us for the whole NHL, which a team you might be able to see this weekend, the Golden Knights. I think
Yeah.
that's one you should swing by there and go sit front row and root on the Capitals and see if you can see a future Stanley Cup team.
I might give it my best effort to go see them play because they're definitely good. They also just have a good commercial on ESPN right now with when they're washing the Stanley Cup in the dishwasher, and that's hilarious. But
They've
they're good, dude.
them and the Canucks. The Canucks have given up 33 goals and they've scored 66. So they're basically averaging 2 goals to every one that they give up. And the Knights are pretty close to that. They've given up 32 and scored 58. It's insane. Then you got the Sharks who have given up 67 and only scored 18. Like it's just so bad.
It's just crazy. I don't know, man. Hockey is it's so cool when you get into it, and then you can when you watch it, when you go to a hockey game, it's absolutely electric. And then if
Yeah.
you also know what's going on and like know the players, oh, it doesn't get any better.
I think that's the game changing thing for hockey is there's like 3 rules you need to know. You learn those 3 rules, you go and watch a game in person, and I think you're hooked.
Oh yeah. And you really only need to play the video game once. And if you play it with somebody who knows what's going on, they can explain the rules. And then that way you are playing the game and understand the rules. And then you go to a game or watch it on TV, you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's why they can't ice. Like that's why icing's a thing, because they would
Yeah.
just, waste the game away, stuff like that. And then you go see it and you get us you see a guy get decleated 3 seconds into the game, and he gets carted off to the hospital, comes back into the game later on, then you're hooked for life.
Was you were with me last
Yeah.
year when the guy got killed, like literally dropped the ice, dropped the puck, and the dude was getting like carted off on a stretcher, like literally 2 seconds in the
it,
game, blood all over the ice, everything.
it was the craziest thing I've ever seen in person. Me and Braylon just sat down. We haven't been there 10 minutes. I mean, the game just started. Like, we got our hot dog, like, I'm putting mustard on it. And I look up, they drop the puck. It goes down one side. Like, the puck is a diagonal and it comes across, like, passing it to the guy skating down the middle. Boom. That's it.
Yeah, there was some previous beef there, I think.
Had to have been because it's like he just seeked him out.
Yep.
It was like last game of the year, maybe, or I don't remember where they were in the season. I don't know, but it was. I mean, it was just the craziest thing. I mean, he's just laying there, and it's right. That what makes it so crazy. It happened right in front of us. Like we're
Yep.
sitting and like looking at this man, like with his mouthpiece gone, and there's blood just running down his face, and we're like, what? I
It's
mean,
like the
I didn't even want to eat my hot dog after that. Like I just kind of put it away until later.
yeah, it like the whole arena almost felt like scared.
Yeah.
Like everyone in there was like, that's the only time I've ever been in a hockey arena. Usually hits like that happen and people are rooting at the guy and like cussing, spitting on the guy that's on the ground, like calling him mean things. Everyone in there was like scared to death for this guy's life.
It was that was something else. I think I have
Uh,
a video of it
yeah, I
somewhere.
think I did too. I think I ended up finding it on Twitter because that's how serious the hit was. Is it made it on Twitter? Anytime something with the Bulls made it on Twitter, something bad's happened.
Oh, crazy. But yeah, so yeah, go check out the Bulls and hockey in general. If you're in Nashville, go check out the Preds.
Or watching some college basketball.
Yep.
Since last time, I'd said that I don't really keep up with the recruiting a ton. Like I just see things that are put in my face, but I don't seek it. So we go we go to tip off against Baylor and I realize Katie Johnson's not starting. Strange. And then this Aiden Holloway guy just starts scoring. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Who is this guy? He's the second highest recruit Auburn basketball has ever had, according to 247 Sports. He was the number 16th player nationally, 5-star recruit out of California, and he just scores.
Yeah.
Like I think he had him and John I both had like 17 or something apiece. No, yeah, John I had 16 against Baylor. He had 19.
Yeah, 19. And I gotta say, what's up with that arena? It was crazy for a matchup like that, two massive brands. But nonetheless, watched it, enjoyed it. It was Baylor has a guy that's absolutely ridiculous. It's a true freshman. I mean, what an intro to college basketball. Like, I don't think anybody could guard him that night. He had like 26 or something, he,
28.
he had 28 and he didn't score for the last 5 minutes. Like Auburn just said, you're not getting the ball. And he had 28.
Yeah.
So that was crazy to watch. Um, yeah, I really thought that y'all had it in the bag too. I thought y'all were gonna get the win. I texted Chase with like, I don't know, they had gone on a run and then something happened and y'all still had the lead. Like every time they went on a run, y'all would take the lead. Or I mean y'all would keep the lead. They would Y'all would go up by 10, they go on a run, y'all would keep the lead. And I'm like, they just can't get a run big enough together. And there's like 3 minutes left, I think. And I texted Chase, I was like, this is over. Like y'all won it. And I jinxed it. I'm sorry. I'm not, but I am. Um, and yeah, so I think that like all the Auburn fans on Twitter like to say, nobody panic. But I mean, really though, like I think Auburn's gonna be a lot better than people give them credit for. Aiden Holloway or whatever his name is can shoot the rock. Um, I mean, you have a lot of experience, even though some of them are the most cringiest players, probably in college sports. But
Who?
Auburn fans love him. Dude, Dylan Cardwell is the cringiest guy on earth. They
Yeah.
call him Mr. Jumbotron. I mean, what kind of name is that?
He's one of the guys that he checks into the game looking for an alley.
Oh yeah. But I mean, he dunked or something the other night in Auburn, or made a layup. I don't know what it was. Something, it was 2 points either way. And he's running down the court, looking at the student section like, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're in a close game with Southeastern Louisiana. Like, what are we doing, bro? Get down the court and play defense. But, whatever. Y'all love it. He loves it. It's the time of his life, whatever. Hop off king, but I still cringe.
I really do love this team already. And like I know it's loser talk to say like that was a good loss. Having the lead the way we did and then losing it, I feel like is definitely a very good like teaching point.
Oh
Especially
yeah.
and like for that to happen first game of the year, like you don't want that game to happen in March.
Mm-mm.
So let's go and get it out of the way, get the wrinkles out of the way. And like you said, this kid from Baylor is going to be like a top 5 pick in the draft, probably. Like he's 6'7". He shoots the three well. He gets to the free throw line and scores every one of those. I think he was like 4 for 7 from three and like 10 for 10 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
And like if you want to get 30 a game in the NBA, that's exactly how you do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, I mean I don't think, in this scenario, I don't think it's loser talk to say it was a good loss. Down the stretch, Aiden had a couple turnovers that, kind of killed momentum, and that's stuff that you want him to learn now. Learn that stuff in November, in February when it really matters, you know, you kind of learn. So, um, I think it's, that's why you play games like that. On the other hand, Alabama just comes out kind of where they left off, just flogging threes and making them, playing good defense. Um, Honestly, let's see, who did they play game one? Hold on, I'm going blank.
Indiana State or
Morehead
Morehead
State.
State.
Morehead State. Whatever. Morehead State at home. But Indiana State, I mean, they're a low key, tournament team every year. The great Larry Bird, he's not going to let them be bad. So
Is
I
that where
thought
he's
that,
at?
no, I mean, that's just where he went to school.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Indiana State.
Yeah.
For some
Um,
reason, I was thinking you were talking about Morehead State, and I've
oh, no, no,
completely
no.
blanked.
They're get him out of here. I mean, but Indiana State was a good game. I mean, they had a lot of good talent, talented players. We have some good transfers. I think we're going to be pretty good. I think we're ranked like 22nd now after some people lost, but um, scoring 100 2 games in a row, that's always cool to see. So I don't know. I think I'm excited. Grant Nelson, I think, is going to be good, and I can't remember. Aaron Estrada is another transfer that can make it rain. I think he finished with something crazy the other night in threes. So I'm excited to get it rolling. I think we have a pretty tough out of conference schedule coming up. So it'll be an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, I like the way that Alabama did things too, like scheduling wise, because like I said, I'm okay with us losing to Baylor, honestly. Like, even though you can say that's loser talk, if we would have won that game, like I wouldn't have came on here beating my chest about it. Like it's November, and Alabama seems like they're setting themselves up to get their feet wet a little bit in November, and then December kicks up, and you play Purdue, you play Creighton, you play Arizona, who are all going to be. Those are teams you're going to see deep in the tournament in March.
Oh yeah.
And to see those guys before conference starts is, in my opinion, a very smart move.
Oh yeah.
Mainly
Because
because, like I say, nobody cares who wins in November and December in college basketball. Like, who cares?
oh yeah. I think that yeah, I think it's a great move too. One, I mean, when they're deciding seeding and who makes it, when you're in the SEC, if you finish, just above 500 in SEC play, like you're gonna be in the conversation to make the tournament. But if you have a couple wins on there, like Purdue at home, or no, that's Coca-Cola Stadium or Coliseum. I don't know where that is.
Yeah,
It's a
mutual side.
yeah, it's I don't know, but if we play at Creighton and we play at Arizona, you win a couple of those, and that's on your resume. That might get you in over somebody who doesn't have as strong of a quad wins or whatever. So, but playing those games like 2 weeks or a week before, like I think we start with Vandy at Vandy. So like I think that's perfect. We play Eastern Kentucky and Liberty before that. So uh you play the good teams, you kind of get back in a rhythm of, dominating, scoring points, doing things the right way, and then you go play conference and hopefully light it up. So I really like what we've done. I like our squad. I think we're pretty deep. So I hope we have a good year. I think it's technically y'all's year to win it or
Yeah,
whatever. Have a good
that's
season,
been
but
just alternate.
maybe we can be right there, right behind y'all or something in our agreement. I don't think we have to like come in last or anything. I don't think that's what is agreed on. I think it's just alternating winning. Maybe So yeah, I take that. If you win every year, you're a great program.
Yeah, for sure.
Every other year.
I mean, yeah, most literally every team should sign up for that
Absolutely. I don't know
because
why they haven't already.
if one team wins it every other year, the best anybody else can do is every other year.
Yeah, and
So I think we
like
got it figured out.
I can't be fully sad either when we don't win it because I'm watching my homies, celebrate their win. So like I'm happy for the bros. I'm frustrated with our squad. When the door closes, I'm sitting there with my head in my hands crying. But when I'm hanging with the bros, vibes are up, because they just won a championship. So it's like, pop off. I'm cool
As
with
long
it.
as yeah, as long as Arkansas or Tennessee don't win it, like I'm cool with whatever happens.
Yeah, LSU. I know they're not in the conversation anymore, but I just don't like it when LSU really wins anything. I'll be honest.
LSU women's. That's LSU women is taking all of my hate from LSU.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
We do have a big one in the SEC where Kansas plays Kentucky this week, number one versus number 17. I do think Kansas is probably going to give them the business though.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Lifetime. I guess it's two lifetime contracts going at each other, huh?
Yeah.
Man,
Speaking of contracts, your boy Jimbo just canned. Shout out Jameis Winston.
yeah.
Earn that
Shout
man every
out.
dollar he's got.
You
And
think
it's
they
just
still talk?
no. I don't think they talk then.
Probably not.
Those are just two completely different people. There's no way they keep in contact.
I bet Jimbo's son probably hits JMO up like, "Hey, what's up?" And then JMO probably doesn't respond.
Yeah, no doubt. But that's hey, can you think of another time where two teams played on Saturday and by Monday morning both head coaches had been fired? Like without the only thing that I can think of that would like constitute that happen is like a Walker versus Coleman type situation where the two head coaches like fist fight. And then it's like, all right, yeah, both y'all need to go. But for one coach to win 51-10 or whatever it was and then get canned.
Yeah, I don't know. And they're both like, I feel like both of them probably shouldn't have been fired yet. You know what I mean? Like, I think Jimbo, just because you're locked in for so much money, just tell him like, hey, uh, we're gonna put you on a performance plan. We're gonna help you hire new coordinators, okay? And let's figure this thing out. But they dumped him. But then the other guy, takes over a program, where the late great Mike Leach passes away and he's just shoved into as a head coach. I mean, you don't have to publicly fire him mid-season. I mean, what is that about?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do
that's
think
just embarrassing.
Jimbo, I can see just because it's like he's had plenty of time and just
Oh, for
can't figure
sure.
it out. The smart thing would do is, like you said, just go invest in some coordinators and help him because he's got the recruiting thing down. He just needs some coordinators to, you know,
Exactly.
win with these guys. And Arnett, I do think Arnett was just kind of a panic hire. Like once Leach passed, then it was kind of like, who's out there we can go get?
Yeah.
And so I think firing him may just be like a to go ahead and get their feet in the portal looking for a new coach. But
I hate the word fire for him. You know what I mean? Like
right,
just hit him with we laid him off, like
yeah,
we mutually separated.
there you go.
But you know what
You
I mean?
broke up.
You can't put him in the same umbrella as Jimbo. I just feel like this is disrespectful.
Yeah, break up and tell them, it's not them, it's you.
Yeah, you're just not ready yet.
Not
We're
ready to
having to
settle
compete.
down.
We're having to compete with, Daniel Tosh up there in Oxford. Like, we need a guy.
That is very true. Well, we did have a pretty good UFC card. Did you end up watching it?
I didn't. They didn't. The place we were watching all the football games at does not play UFC in agreement for the UFC bar around the corner. So they didn't want to step
Okay.
on any toes.
That's a that's a strange dynamic right there.
I thought it was pretty weird, and the our waiter explained it to me, and I was like, "Oh, well, that's really nice of y'all. Like, they're still playing college football games over there, I'm pretty sure. So weird. One of them sells wings, the other one doesn't, though. So, I mean, maybe that's part of their agreement as well. I don't know.
You get wings in UFC, and we get all of college football.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it was like I think if you wanted to get into UFC, that's that was a card too, like that you needed to watch just because I feel like it's perfect to attract like a casual fan because it was just four like the last two fights. That's what I kept saying. You got to watch the last two fights.
Mhm.
It's just four like light heavyweights, heavyweights. Just get in there and just hammering on each other.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I
Like
love that stuff.
Sergey Pavlovich, who's like Russian, like one of the scariest men on the planet. He's got like an 87-inch reach. Like he's just long,
Jeez.
lanky, and fat. But he's scary. And he was going against Tom Aspinall, and he only landed one punch. The fight only lasted like a minute. He lands one punch, and it would have put me in a coma.
Yeah.
Aspinall just eats it and then drops him like 10 seconds later. And then Pereira, who is my guy, ends up taking out Yuri, who a lot of people were saying was an early stoppage, but isn't it was one of those weird, like honestly the weirdest I've ever seen to where he hits him and you could tell he's rocked, and Yuri like out of instinct dives at his legs, and they're pinned against the cage, and Pereira is just landing elbows in his temple, like several very quick into his temple, and then Yuri falls backwards a little bit, and that's when the ref jumps in and stops it. But he still kind of reacted a little afterwards. He wasn't out, but then Yuri ended up saying that he was out. And he thinks the stoppage was good, so that's good on him because I feel like a lot of fighters would have just been like, "Yeah, it was an early stoppage. Like, let me get my rematch."
Yeah.
He was like, "No, I was out," and really he was the champion, and then he beat Glover Teixeira and dropped his title because of an injury from that fight. And instead of holding the title and letting somebody else fight for an interim, he just dropped it and was like, "I'm not going to hold the weight class back." Well, then Jamal Hill ends up winning it, and then Jamal Hill gets hurt, and Jamal Hill says, "Well, I'll do the same thing, and I'll drop it. That way, y'all don't have to fight for an interim. Y'all go fight for the title now." So that's like the coolest part about these guys that are just beating each other's brains in is there's like such a respect
Oh,
and
yeah.
like thing for the whole sport to where like a selfish guy could have just done things so much differently. And both of those guys did it the right way, in my opinion. But I really hope he does get a rematch. And then I don't really know about Tom Aspinall. I think he might just get fed to John Jones now, and I don't know if he
Oh,
really wants that.
death. Yeah, I think that's one thing that I like about UFC as well, and really most of the fighting sports or combat sports. Like, there's just such respect for each other, and like the work that they have to put in. It's most of the time it's not really anything personal. I mean, every once in a while, it's two guys who really don't like each other fighting, but most of the time, like, they just have so much respect for each other, and like they're dapping each other up after the fight, and I think that's really cool. Like, I think that makes it more human. I think it's like, yeah, this is like truly sport, and it's like the most organic sport. I feel like fighting, uh anybody can go out there and fight, so it's part of like human nature. But I don't know, man. I think that's what makes it a little bit more interesting. And um I don't know. It's UFC's a cool. I'm still kind of getting into it. I'm not as an experienced fan as you, but I can definitely sit there and enjoy it 100%.
Yeah, to me, it is the best sport. Like, there's no greater form of competition than just locking two dudes in a cage and just saying who wins.
Yeah, go at it. That's why I love it.
But you got any picks for this weekend? Then we'll close out with the 2 minute warning.
Um, I had one. Hold on. Um, Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. This is off the dome live. See how I think. I think Georgia at Tennessee 10. That's interesting.
Yeah, like I said, I think Georgia's hit. I have 3 games written down. This was one of them. Just because I think
Hmm.
Georgia's hitting their stride
Yep.
and Tennessee's on
Air
the down, way down.
people were somebody I heard somebody say watch out for Arizona State at Oregon. If you hear anybody say that, don't listen. Um
Yeah, Oregon's a wagon.
can you know what? Mizzou is my play.
Over Florida.
Yeah, that's my play.
I just scrolled through them. First time I looked at them was right before the show started, and Pitt -2.5 versus Boston College, where Pitt is 2-8 on the year.
Boston College got a little dog in them.
Boston College is 6-4. Pitt's 2-8, and Pitt's favored by 2.5. That somebody is telling you something. And then I would bet the house on it that I don't watch a second of Nebraska at Wisconsin. There are so many things I would rather do than watch either one of those two teams because they're the same team. I could not tell you what's the difference or any difference between Nebraska and Wisconsin.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Which one did Melvin Gordon play for? Which one did Will Compton play for? Which one did Monty Ball play for? Who had all the Martinez's?
I don't know.
Like I couldn't tell you.
That's such a good point. Like even right now, thinking about it, think about their coaches, like like low key similar. Like if you told me Luke Fickle was at Nebraska, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds right. Mark Rule at Wisconsin, yeah, yeah, I could see that. I think it's a pretty good fit. Weird,
Yeah,
real weird.
both just one letter and red.
Which one's Camp Randall? You know, I don't know. I don't even know. Oh, Lincoln something. I know that one. That's Nebraska. All
That's Riley.
right. You ready for a 2 minute drill or what?
Let's get it.
All right, here we go. And start. If Michigan, okay, actually preface it. Stop. Michigan came out and said that they're frustrated with the Big Ten and they want to leave. They're thinking about leaving. All right, start. If Michigan went to another conference, um, where would you like to see them go?
Where would I like to see them go would be the SEC, but where will they go? The Big 12.
I kind of thought about the ACC as well. Um, and then they get like Notre Dame to come with them, which did they? But no, maybe not. But I think that could be an interesting conversation as well. And if you're like Michigan AD, you're like, hey, let's go to the ACC and win it every year.
Yeah. I just don't feel like
Um,
the ACC has very much money though. You can go to the Big 12 and be the big guy and still kind of have some money, which I don't know if the Big 12 will still have money once Texas and Oklahoma leaves, but
yeah, and
maybe.
I think you could, say, hey, Notre Dame, come to the SEC with me because I think the SEC is going by twos now.
Yeah.
Um, or you could go to like Florida, be like, hey, Florida State, like, what's up? Like, let's all join the SEC. Like, I think that would be really cool. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting dynamic that they were like, hey, we don't like what y'all did, suspending our coach without an investigation.
Yeah, I
Anyways,
don't think that question is crazy.
yeah,
I do think that there is a slight chance that something like that could happen.
for sure. Um, what is your go-to late night snack?
Cereal,
What kind?
Fruity Pebbles.
Solid. That would be me as well. If animals could talk, which species would be the rudest?
Probably skunks.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're just gross.
I was kind of thinking cats as well. I think cats are
Cats
kind of rude,
cats would be very like petty
but
and
skunks, I
rude.
think they would just be disrespectful.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking more of like disrespectful, like somebody just pull up in your house and just say something really rude to you and leave.
Oh
That's a
yeah,
skunk. To me, a cat would be like y'all would be friends for forever, and they would just sit on the couch beside you and just be like super rude and like
and they're
feel like they
tweeting
were better
about
than you.
yeah, like they're tweeting about you behind your back and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Whoa, that wasn't me. That's my other friend. I'm
Like
sorry
smacking
that
on
you
their
thought
gum.
that. I'm sorry that you thought that was about you. Like all that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, skunks is a good answer. I like that. What percent of Brock Bowers is a cyborg?
98.
I had it 90. That's a pretty good answer.
He has human eyes. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Gotta be. I mean, he definitely don't have a human ankle anymore.
No.
You know, crazy. Anyways, if Auburn didn't let you be a fan anymore, who would you pull for?
Ugh. I'd probably just root hardcore for the Yankees.
Yeah, that's like a very northern thing to do. They don't even care about college football up here
Yeah, I'll
or
just root
colleges.
Yankees. I might pick up an NFL team.
Yeah, I like that answer. Ride or die.
Right. I wouldn't be able
Last
to pick up.
one. Favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Can I do a combo?
Do a combo.
I like dressing and I like covering it in the cranberry sauce.
Oh yeah,
Like that's
absolutely.
something I don't know why we have that pinned down to Thanksgiving. That should be something that you eat like once a month.
Cranberry sauce or dressing?
Both.
Yeah.
Dressing smothered in cranberry sauce, like
Oh yeah.
drowning in cranberry sauce.
Yeah, I like when some people will have like a gravy for the turkey because sometimes turkey's dry.
Super
Uh
dry. It's always dry.
but so they'd serve it with a little gravy. Sometimes you throw a little gravy on the dressing and then you mix in like the we have like the jelly form kind of where it comes in the can of the cranberry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you get a little chunk of that in there. Boy, it's that good stuff.
Well, good show. Good. That's a good 2 minute drill.
Oh
You
yeah,
nailed it.
I put a lot of thought into it. I was like, I want to get him. I want to get him on some good stuff.
I'm hoping this becomes a segment of just like the random thoughts that I have in my head,
Oh yeah.
just being able to bring those to life. And I feel like you did that perfect.
Oh, I was sitting there watching the Georgia game, and they said, or it was like before, and they're like, "Hey, Brock Bowers is starting." I'm like, "Oh, that dude's a cyborg." And then he makes a catch, and I'm like, "Okay, what percentage of him is a cyborg?" Because
Yeah.
it's never 100%. Then you're just a robot. There's something human about him. So yeah, I think it's just his eyes. That's a good one. Maybe his fingernails. Probably has to cut his fingernails. God,
Maybe.
how great would it be if you didn't have to cut your fingernails though?
That would be, which I don't cut them anyways. I bite them like a nasty person.
Well,
But toenails, I can't bite them. Not
yeah.
anymore.
I mean, bending over is getting harder and harder.
Right.
Not a fan. All right, let's get out of here, bro.
Love you guys.